20 years later, the Bone Temple. Let's talk about one person in particular here, Samson. I will talk about that other person in a bit. Spoilers ahead for the Bone Temple. If you have not watched the movie, go watch it. Check out our review. Check out our ending explained. Come back to this video. Come back tomorrow because we're going to talk about that ending with Cillian Murphy. We said it. You knew this was going to be an ending explained. Talking about it, spoilers, all of that. I said it. So tomorrow, Cillian Murphy. Today is Samson. At the end of 20 years later last year, I think a lot of people came out wondering, would we ever see Samson reappear? And the answer, of course, was yes. Samson became a pretty big star for many reasons, and we see him return in the Bone Temple now. And in the Bone Temple, this movie is really focused on the character of Samson, which I was so fascinated by. So throughout this whole film, we see that Samson and Dr. Kelson develop a relationship. They start to sort of bond together. They're just two guys just getting high, looking at the moon. What more can you ask for? Which I really love these scenes a ton. And I said in my ending explained, Dr. Kelson needs to make a Spotify playlist because that was some amazing bangers back to back. And we saw that they were just taking the time to relax, to look at the moon and just be guys, two guys just chilling. And I really love that about the film. But more importantly, what we find out in this film is that Samson is able to go back to his memories. The more morphine, sedatives, and tranquilizers he gets, he's able to sort of get back to normal. Now, Dr. Kelson starts to notice this. He notices that there may be some way to help him. But before this, Dr. Kelson was actually going to just euthanize Samson in order to give him the peace he has been searching for. That is, until one day Samson says, "Moon," as he is looking at the moon, and Kelson realizes this guy might be able to go back. And Kelson sort of is put on the clock at the same time because of the introduction of the Jimmies, which I thought was sort of the accelerator that got Kelson to just take a leap into the unknown and try to help Samson. So he's able to do so by making a cocktail that will cure all of the things that the rage virus is sort of making Samson go berserk. And one of those is psychosis. Dr. Kelson realizes there must be some psychosis involved here that makes the infected look at normal people, even a baby and a child, and say, they're a monster, I must attack, and sort of puts them in fight or flight. And that's where the whole base of Dr. Kelson's cure comes from, is curing the psychosis first, because he has to go to the brain first. He has to fix the brain in order to help these people, and he's able to do so. And we see at the end of the film that Dr. Kelson indeed has cured Samson. Now, one thing I found in particular very interesting is that Samson still has his large figure and he's still pretty strong as well. So it seems that he's still able to really maneuver himself as this alpha. But the infected do not see him as an alpha once he is cured, because we see that they start to attack him in the train. Now, in that train scene where Samson fights all of these infected, I'm pretty sure he got bit or blood on him, but it seems that he is now immune. We see him come out covered in the red blood. Mere minutes or hours later, I don't know how long it takes, when Samson returns to the Bone Temple to get Dr. Kelson, he is normal. He is not infected anymore. So it seems that once you're infected, then you get the cure, then you're pretty much not gonna get the infection again, right? You are going to be immune. Does Samson's blood now carry an immunity within him? Will Samson have been the alpha and now is the crux to making a vaccine that will be able to help cure the infected? I thought it was great to also see Samson before the whole infection happened on that train as a child, and ultimately he sees himself as an adult as well. I don't know exactly when Samson's infection started or any of them, but we do know that there is definitely a connection there. And something I was wondering as well myself was, in that train we saw that pregnant woman, and I wondered if the infected would be able to reproduce as well. And I've talked about this in my ending explained. Would that baby actually be Samson's? Of course, the baby went to Holy Island at the end of 20 years later as Spike delivered it there. And now the question is, what happens to that baby now? Is that baby going to grow up to be immune as well as Samson? And I think that we are going to get a pretty interesting third film, because I assure you, I believe Samson will be in that film. And Danny Boyle has spoken about the three films. He says, if 20 years later is about family, if 28 years later the Bone Temple is about evil, then the third film is going to be about redemption. All of these characters finally finding redemption. And one of those, of course, is going to be Samson. Now, I'll talk about the other characters and their redemption tomorrow when we talk about the third film, but stay tuned for that. But I want to talk right now about Samson. I think Samson will realize who he was, who he became as an alpha, what he went and did, and will sort of find a way to make it right. And I think him taking Dr. Kelson may be him just trying to figure out what exactly Kelson did for him, and he himself will try to sort of replicate that in a way, and we could see Samson become a very integral part of getting a cure done for the rest of the infected, and thus this will be his redemption. Or let me put it to you this way, and maybe this raises the stakes even higher. As we've seen with many shows, when somebody is a cure for something, it eventually means that they have to be killed, dissected, and studied. So does Samson give himself up in order to be that cure that helps everybody involved here? And I think that would definitely be an interesting arc for Samson to get, especially considering where we saw him in the previous film 20 years later, where he was ripping heads, spine and all, and then this one he was eating brains. It definitely makes sense to see Samson take that leap like Dr. Kelson did and give it all he's got in order to find a cure, and would make for such an amazing arc throughout this whole film. But overall, that's what I think we will see from Samson with this ending. We see him carrying Dr. Kelson away, and I think Dr. Kelson for sure is dead. I don't see him coming back from that in any shape, way, or form, but I do see his legacy continuing with Samson, with Spike, and everybody else involved here. I think that we definitely have Jim go out to the Bone Temple at some point with them as he tries to help Spike get back to Holy Island, and we eventually see Aaron Taylor Johnson coming and crossing paths with them. And I said it yesterday when I explained, I think Holy Island will be the ultimate antagonist by the end of it. I believe Danny Boyle has said that this movie and this trilogy is just going to be focused on the people here. There is no outsider coming, it is just between them. So it would make sense that the antagonist is someone within, someone we started the story with, and someone will end the story with. So we'll see what happens. You let me know your thoughts and opinions on Samson being cured. What do you think now that there's a cure for the rage virus? There has been talks about it in 28 months later, but right here they pretty much showcased it to us that it is possible. But who will have the medicine to do this now? We know that Dr. Kelson was running out, so we'll see what happens. You let me know your thoughts and your theories down below. We'll talk more theories about what we could see possibly in the third film all weekend long, so stay tuned for that video, as well as the Cillian Murphy video this weekend. As always, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. On the road to 50,000 subscribers. Let's get to it. Follow us wherever you can, our website, our social media, all that good stuff. I'll see you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.